Perfect. Hey there, my friends. How you doing? Give me 1 second. I'm setting it up, getting it just right. Tighten it right there, brother. Perfect. You want to go down just a little lower. No, you want to go back up. Stop it. Okay. I was trying to get this done because I wanted to do it at 111, and I made it just in time. I heard what I needed to do, and the crazy thing is I said, God, I'm not going to talk or say anything until you show me what needs to be said and what needs to be done. And sure enough, I stayed up in prayer and saying, God, tell me what is the response during this time. And when you get older, you begin to consult God more, wisdom and the Spirit. And I received this message. And I didn't receive it until "15 minutes ago. I was talking with my wife, and we were just talking, and all of a sudden I heard, look it up now. Because when she talks, I get inspired. I heard, look it up now. And so I grabbed my computer, and I said, God, let's look it up. And he told me to look up the word, get up. He said, look up the word, get up. You did this already. And I want you to talk about get up. I said, all right, I'll talk about getting up. So I wish I could show it to you, but I can't do it right this very second. I was so shocked that what I'm going to tell you, I wrote on March 17th, 2019. So I went back and looked at the calendar and said, and I know it is because I looked at the calendar and it said today is March 17th. And I said, what? I said, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go ahead and do this. Because sometimes what happens in the spirit realm is that you have synchronicity. You get into a season of synchronicity where things begin to line up. And I wasn't sure, as I had a certain thing I thought I was going to talk about, and he revealed it. And so then when I looked at the notes, I said, this is exactly what needs to be shared right now. So let me pull it up here, right here. No. Yeah, pull it up. Oh, come on now. Now, you know that would be the case, but no, you don't. Oh, because you're hitting the photo, brother. I took a screenshot of my documents because I wanted to memorialize this moment, because I said as soon as I saw it, I took a screenshot because I said I want to have a memory of the synchronicity of God, and because I don't believe in coincidence. And I said and I took a screenshot. So just now I'm sitting there trying to open the screenshot, but I'm not opening the actual lesson. And so here we are. So what you gonna do? Do you want to get down? So what you gonna do? Do you want to get down? Get down on it. Get up. Right now, I want to talk about if you're going to get down on it, that means you need to get up. And when I say get up, that means you need to make the decision that I'm getting up from here. Creator, bless this message. Speak through me. Help me to tap into your spirit and speak what you would have me to say. My creator, my inspirer, my guide. Now let the words that I share be led by the Spirit of your Son, Yeshua, known as Jesus Christ. And let your anointing be on these words. Father, let me say whatever you want me to say as I go through this. And help someone to get up. Amen. Hold on. Fear not. You will pass through perfectly, this lovingly and safely, through individually designed experiences. Everybody's going to have different experiences. Now there's a veil, and you have to ask God to remove the veil so that you will not forget the memories of your early experiences. And so sometimes we get to a moment of crisis of belief or a moment of stress and anxiety, and we tend to forget our past experiences. And so the veil will be lifted one day, and then one day, and so we will see forever. And so this is 1 Corinthians 13. 12. For now we are looking in a mirror that gives only a dim, blurred vision of reality, as in a riddle or enigma. But then, when perfection comes, we shall see in reality and face to face. Now I know in part, imperfectly, but then I shall know and understand fully and clearly, even in the same manner as I have been fully and clearly known and understood by God. When you are someone who speaks truth, when you are someone who stands for truth, when you are someone who follows a call, you have to know sometimes when you receive an idea, sometimes when you receive something, you only know because you only get to see it in part. It says we prophesy in part and we know in part. And so this scripture is saying, but one day I will fully see and know what is going on. And so he realized, and I want to understand, how could we learn about obedience if we were shielded from the consequences of our disobedience? I'm going to say this again. How can we learn about obedience if we are shielded from the consequences of our disobedience? The veil, when it brushes us to feel but not yet give it up. If there is a God, why does he permit suffering? If God is real, then why, if my Creator loves me, why does he permit suffering? This question lets us know we fail to understand the nature and the life with its real components. And so your Creator, my Creator, will require of us an earned sense of esteem. See, some of us have built our esteem off of the counterfeit. in the form of likes, social media, in the form of people's complimenting, getting praise of men, all of that. But God requires me to have a earned sense of esteem, as well as proof of our competency. See, it's one thing to say you'll believe, it's another thing to go through something and have to believe. And when he says to prove, when I said to prove our competency, thus the tests given to us here are not given because God is in doubt as of to the outcome, but because we need to grow in order to be able to serve full effectively and be effective in eternity to come. And so I want you to understand this. Sometimes I have to remember he's trusting me and I must give proof of my competency, that I'm competent, that I can handle this. And not just handle this, but I'm competent, meaning I have taken all of the lessons and the revelations and the little things you've said to me over our relationship with one another, and I can handle this too. And the goal is to teach me to be effective. To be untested and unproven is to be unaware of all that we are. You know, sometimes I've learned over the last few years that cliches actually come from actual wisdom. And what God is a joke is to say, I have a plan. If you want a cosmic joke, say, here are my plans. But now I want you to understand this. To be untested and unproven is also to be unaware of who we are. And so I had to tell myself, God, this season wasn't in my plans at all. But yet I receive what's happening now. I'm not kicking against it. Because if I kick against it, then I'm not accepting reality as it is. So now watch. If we are unknowing of our possibilities, with what could we safely be entrusted? Man, I can't believe all this. I want y'all to know I'm reading a lot of this for the first time since this time in 17. That's 3 years ago. My goodness. I got caught up. Excuse me. If we are unknowing of our possibilities, with what could we safely be entrusted? Could we in ignorance or of our capabilities trust ourselves? If you don't know what you're capable of, can you trust yourself? I had to do something for my mother-in-law, and you'll hear it, Lord willing, if I ever get to do Stigleaf Manor. I had to do something. And in me doing something for her, by the time I completed the task, I said, I'll follow me anywhere. And the reason I said that was because I knew what it took me to make what she needed to happen. And so, if you don't know your capabilities, then how can you trust yourself? Thus, the relentless love of our Father in heaven is such that in his omniscience, he will not allow the cutting short of some brief experience we are having here. I don't pray, God, just let this be over with. I say, God, help me to get through this. Help me to break through this moment. Help me to recognize that this didn't catch you off guard. And so I'm not going to sit here and act surprised like, what is going on? I'm not saying that you don't feel it. but because you're going to feel it. And my father's relentless in the point where he says, you may be going through and it's a brief experience. To do so, because if he cuts what I'm going through short, it would deprive me of everlasting experiences of great joy. See, today I can say, the joy of the Lord is my strength. And I mean it with every fiber of my being. And I can say that in suffering, say that in pain, say that in being misunderstood, say that in being angry and messing up and having to apologize. I still understand my Creator is the joy of my life. And so, a loving father, even if we plead otherwise, he must at sometimes say no. Sometimes a father has to say no even when he doesn't want the child to be hurt or disappointed. But he knows if I allow them to do this, or if I allow this to happen, they won't get the lesson that I want to teach them and that they need to learn for themselves. And that is the power that they have within. C.S. Lewis, he is somebody I read almost all of his books. But in one of his books, he had the analogy of remodeling a human soul and a living house. And he said, imagine yourself as living as a living house. God comes in to rebuild that house. At first, perhaps, you can understand what he's doing. He's getting the drains right. He's stopping the leaks and it leaks in the roof and so on. You knew that those jobs needed doing. And so you're not surprised. But presently, he starts knocking the house about in a way that hurts abominably. And it does not seem to make sense. Okay, sometimes you think, okay, I see what you're doing, or I understand and I'm not bothered, or I get it. But then here it says, everything that can be shaken shall be shaken. And when he comes in, he begins to hit that house and knock it about, you feel the pain. And that's when you say, what on earth is he up to? The explanation is that he's building a quite different house from the one you thought. Selah, let's think about that. Sometimes we don't understand what God is up to because he's building a house different from the one we thought. See, sometimes we have made in our minds what we believe the future is going to look like because we think that we can always see into the unknown. But the truth of the matter is, no, he's knocking the house about because he has his own plan. He's building a quite different house, throwing out a new wing here, putting an extra floor there, running up towers, making a courtyard, and you thought you were going to be made a little cottage, but he's building you a palace. When I say he's building you a palace, if you can endure the season that you're experiencing, you must know the person that will come out of this will be so much more elaborate, so much more eloquent, so much more, because I don't do all that blinging like that anymore. It would be fabulous. And so when he's building you, he's expanding you. And so now watch this. Causes of suffering. It should be clear to us, however, that when we speak of meeting life's challenges and suffering, it is wise to distinguish between the causes of suffering, because there's different types of remodeling. See, I had to learn this. He may work in your life this way. He may work in your life this way. He may work in your life this way. He may remodel in different ways. And each time there are different kinds of suffering. Sometimes there are different kinds of suffering you go through as you're growing through what you go through. So let's talk about it. Type 1. Some things happen to us because of our own mistakes and our own sins. See, I can't blame everybody, because sometimes things happen to us because of our own mistakes and our own sins, as contrasted with suffering brought on because we're a believer and we have faith. See, sometimes we feel we're being persecuted because, or we're going through because of our Christian faith, or our spiritual faith, or our spiritual walk. But the truth of the matter is, some of the suffering I go through is because of my own missing the mark. That's why I don't have to be right. I don't get my validation out of being right. Because I learned years ago what's wrong with being wrong. And sometimes when you're wrong, that correction grows you up. And many of us are in a season of correction right now. Stay with me, because I'm going to keep doing this, and I want you to understand, I'm sure we're going to get to something that will bless you. Peter makes distinctions very well. But let none of you suffer as a murderer, or as a thief, or as an evildoer, or as a busybody in other men's matters. Yet, if any man suffers as a believer, let him not be ashamed, but let him glorify God on this behalf. Wow. Sometimes you are obedient to what the Spirit tells you to do, and you will suffer. You will go through some things, and people will look at you like, you've lost your mind. You've gone through this. Sometimes you obey, and people look at you and say, "Oh, what you doing? Don't get caught up in that. Fake news." I ain't got nothing else to say. But let none of us suffer as a murderer. Mistakes and sins versus suffering for Christ. Sin, Hebrew, shatah, to be trapped by the fence of deception of the snake. And so when you are in sin, if you learn the original meaning of it, you are trapped by the fence of deception. And when you're trapped by that, that's where they get hamartia, or it causes you to miss the mark. And sometimes we go through periods of indecision. We don't know whether or not to be a believer or not. But I want to tell you this. I had to start listening to what wisdom was telling me. I'm so glad that one day I was at a Washington Wizards game, and I was sitting there by myself, and I would keep my notebook pad with me. And I was just sitting there speaking truth to myself, and I said, would you follow you? Be honest, Deron. Would you follow you? Based upon the truth you know about yourself, would you follow you? And I wrote down, no. Because it is not until you're brutally honest with yourself that you can transcend your current situation. You don't have to get out of it physically. The first thing you got to do is be delivered in your mind and be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And when I looked at that truth and said, no, I wouldn't follow me, then he says, now you got work to do. Because when you are indecisive and you don't, what if happened if I had chosen not to be indecisive? If I had chosen to be indecisive about that one truth thing that I went through, then I'm not here right now. Y'all don't even understand. I'm praising God as I talk. Why? Because I can see. I used to do a number on myself because when you're on the front line, you get so many accusations and so many different people talking. And it don't mean that I got it all right, because I was John the Blackest. I was out there cutting up, thinking, doing got a street gospel. And I was out there. And I'll never forget, Pastor Francis, I said something to him from the pulpit, but he wasn't a pastor then. Yeah, he was. It was already inside of him, brother. But I said something to him. And he came to me, not after service, but one day he said, you said something to me. And I said something thuggish. And he said, I just want you to know, I ain't like that. And I said, you know what? You're right. And when I went home, what I understood was, and I wrote on a piece of paper on the wall next to my dresser, what won them, Deron, is not going to keep them. And the spirit of the street is not going to win them. You've got to change who you are. A man or woman who tries to live according to the gospel of the good news and the Son of God, at the same time clings to the spirit of the world. Now get this truth. The person who tries to cling to the good news and the spirit of the world, those trials that we go through are acute and they're huge. See, sometimes what we're experiencing is that he says, I'm trying to tell you something. Color purple. God's trying to tell you something. Speak, Lord. Speak to me. Sometimes he's trying to speak to you, but because we don't want to lose our comfort. That's what this season is about right now. Many of us are being challenged to go back to basics. Some of us have forgotten what those basics are. And so he's trying to speak through our circumstances. But this is the time to keep hope, not to give up. Because what we're now being done, what is happening, we're being called on a journey to find out who we are. I hope y'all hear me. Let's keep going. The second type of suffering. No, I'm going to read it. I was getting ready to stop. I'm going to read this. Hey, if this is blessing you, hit me with some hearts or something, because I don't know whether or not we're connecting or not. And part of me says, well, maybe you need to stop talking about this. And so, okay. Thank you. Because sometimes I just don't have that wherewithal. Thank you. Plus, I can't see who watching or not. So, hold on. Get back to the message, Deron. Watch this. Still other trials and tribulations come to us merely as a part of living. Some things come to us as a part of living. For as indicated in the scriptures, Yah, the Lord, Hashem, sendeth rain on the just as well as the unjust. The rain falls on the just as well as the unjust. And we are not immunized against all inconveniences and difficulties. Sometimes we believe that our faith is an inoculation from tribulation. We think our faith makes us immune to having to go through. In fact, it's your faith that helps you make it through. And let me tell you something. Everybody goes through, and through is the same road for everyone. Third type of suffering. There's another dimension. Whew. This challenge, or the challenges, come to us even though we seem to be innocent. There's sometimes we go through because we're saying, hey, I did everything that I was supposed to do. I'm innocent of what I'm being accused of, or I'm innocent of what is happening in my life, or I'm innocent because I did everything. I was faithful at my job. I was faithful going to work. I paid my insurance. I did all these things. I wasn't late on my rent. I did all these different things. And even if you were one time or two or three or whatever, but you were trying to do the right thing, and it don't feel right to be now put in this position where I'm saying, my God, and these are people and us, what are we going to do now? These become because the omniscient God deliberately chooses to school us. The world is being put in school. And those who don't understand that this is a come to God a moment, a come to Jesus a moment, lower your voice a moment, you're going to miss it. You better open your eyes and understand. And don't get caught up in all the smoke and screen, and don't get caught up in those people who trying to out-talk this, and don't listen to that, don't do this. Don't you do that. You better follow what's in your gut and what's in your heart. Listen, I walked into a store the other day, 2 days ago, with my blue gloves on. Why? Because I have to make sure that I'm not getting caught up in denial. And so when I went into the store, I had my gloves on. And why did I have my gloves on? Because I said, I got to keep my immune system where it is. And guess what? As I walked into the store, them brothers was in there, and they was looking at me. My wife didn't tell me until I got into the car. She said, yeah, when they walk past you, they was like, I told people the time is coming where you're going to see brothers in the hood with white t-shirts on and masks. Then you're going to know God is real. This ain't right, but I've had this thought for years. Everybody talking about being a thug. Well, if you're a real thug, don't wear no gloves, don't wear no mask. Just go out there. But don't do that, because, for God forgive me that, because somebody will be challenged by that. Do whatever it is in your heart to do. Here's a last dimension of suffering I will talk about. There is another dimension of suffering and the other challenge that come to us even though we seem to be innocent. Oh, I did it already. He can't school me if the rain he sends causes me to shut down. That's a good place to stop, Deron. I can't be schooled, I can't be trained in righteousness if he sends rain and I wanted it to be sunny and it causes me to shut down. Sulk, pout. This is your time to get up, and you got to rise above this season. This is the time to get up. Do you want to get down? Get down on it. Come on in. Sometimes you got to decide, guess what? We're going to dance now. In the spirit realm, saying we're going to dance. I've lost my fear of death. I didn't lose it. I trust, oh death, where is your sting? And I also believe in life. And I believe we're living. So this is a great time because we're living in history. We spend a lot of our time sometimes watching the documentaries of people who went through things. Now it's our turn. How do you go through? I'm hearing wisdom say this. Everybody in the house has to be on the same page, and that is, you can't have a family in the house and this person ain't washing their hands and this person ain't doing this. You got to decide, you know what? Even if I don't believe that anything is happening, I'm going to honor my mother. I'm going to honor my sister. I'm going to go ahead and do this so that they don't feel messed up. My wife told me something recently. She said, Deron, had I ended up in this situation, I wasn't coming back in this house. She said, because I can't bring that into your space. I didn't say thank you because I think I was just taken aback by the seriousness of it. Hey guys, that's the best I can give you today for right now. I pray that your will, your life, you're able to make it through this. You will. I've made a decision. This ain't catch you by surprise, God. So I'm going to make it through this too. Change your confession. And also, don't talk to people who have a disposition of fear, because fear is contagious. Lower your voice and keep fearful people out your space. You're welcome, Nikki Howard. Hey, amen, Crystal Hunter. I can read that one. I can't read this one. Hey, Crystal. I believe we covered it. Believe that God has done it. I'm just touching heaven to make sure I've said everything. Got one thing. I got one thing. When you get boxes in delivery, know that this virus can last on the boxes for 24 plus hours. 24 plus hours. So if I got some deliveries, I wiped them down and I opened it up with some gloves. And made sure I then took a Clorox wipe and wiped down the packages. And when Jill went to pick up, I'm talking just little boxes. I had to get a couple of supplements and stuff, just little boxes. Oh, I got to save some more lives. Here's what you're going to need. You research it. They're having us deal with the healthcare system, but the way out of this is through also natural herbs and medicines. Selenium. Selenium helps you deal with your cognitive function, but if you have selenium deficiency, it can make you susceptible to viruses because selenium helps to work on your immune system. Vitamin D3. You can still walk into the store and get vitamin D3. Research the health benefits of vitamin D3, but you have to get that into your system. And no one's making the mention of vitamin C. Now for me, I have used liposol or liposol. Give me one second. I'm coming right back. one of the ways that I was able to fight back, it's called Boardroom Organics. I got it on Amazon. It's liposomal. I don't know if you can read that. Lipomosol. And it's reversed, but I didn't do it. Boardroom. And this is pure vitamin C. I learned that you can take a vitamin C tablet, but you're only going to get 15% of the benefit. But with this, when you read the processing of this, the vitamin C is encapsulated in like a gel bubble, so it allows it to go into your system. No one is saying vitamin C. In China, they're already testing the efficacy of vitamin C. And so it's more than just drinking orange juice. And it's called lipospheric. SPHERIC. They're packages. And in those lipospheric packages, because this don't taste as good, but I do it because it's medicine. And what I like about this is 600 milligrams of vitamin C, so the absorption rate is huge. Vitamin D, selenium. Himalayan pink salt. Himalayan pink salt. Why? Because it has so many nutrients in it. Magnesium, you name it. And it too is an ancient medicine that was used to help you build your immune system. There's a doctor called Dr. Sebi. I just happened to see his name today. He was one of them, somebody told me, because I've never seen him. I guess I need to look him up. But he is responsible for letting people know about selenium. And when you take selenium, then I won't say you don't have to, but it so helps you with your brain and stress and confusion that it takes away the need to have to take certain psychotropic drugs. But check with your doctor. With any one of these things, I didn't tell you to do anything. God, I thank you for the strength. I thank you for the inspiration. Now, please allow something to have been said that would change our lives and help us to make it through this moment. Father, give me peace of mind. And I thank you for allowing me to stay on the front line and have the breath. I also thank you, God, for your synchronicity. I'll wait for you to continually reveal to me how you would have me do the same message on the same day 1 year later. I thank you, Lord. Now help the single parent who feels fear. Let her know, listen, you done faced a lot of stuff and you may have to get help. Meaning you may have to go against some of the things that you would normally do. There's some things decisions that I've had to make to say, this ain't about being comfortable. This is about survival. And that is to super abound and rise above and thrive in this situation. I've given you the best that I got. Saints, much love. Pray my strength.